Hello everybody, this is Mr. Mruberduck back with another redstone video, and today I want what's in that chest, but it's in a staircase, I can't reach it, and the staircase doesn't seem to have a bottom. A lever! Awesome, let's just flick that lever, and out of the ground pops a hidden staircase. We can just run straight up it, grab our chair. Great. Brilliant. We never want to see that again, so we can just run back down, flick the lever again, and it pops down, flat with the floor, looking nice and dandy, and that's just beautiful. That's so cool. There must be so much redstone behind that, I hear you say. Well, that, my friends, is where you would be wrong. This thing is absolutely tiny. Here is all the redstone. It's pretty awesome if you ask me. This magenta circuit here is purely optional. It's controlling the on and off automatic circuit. It's not just a magically appearing redstone block. And yeah, that circuit is just to make it look nicer. It does work with just this red circuit, no magenta, but it's a bit slow. So yeah, you're going to have to live with that. But the dimensions of this thing are 5 deep, 5 tall, and 12 long, making it 300 blocks in volume, which is stupidly small. The last smallest one was 420 blocks in volume, so yeah, enough said really. This thing, basically what it has to do is have a block swapper, which involves an ABBA gate, and two adjacent triple piston extenders right next to 2 adjacent double piston extenders. That's a lot to fit in 300 blocks, but Jaruca and I managed to do it. Now, if you don't know who Jaruca is, he's pretty cool. You should check out his channel. I will leave a link in the description box, and you can go sub to him. He's a cool guy, and yeah, he makes some awesome stuff. So here it is without the magenta circuit. Flick the lever, the retraction is just the same as normal, which is pretty quick. And the extension, oh. Yeah, it's a bit flawed. But yeah, you can just add the other circuit if you really want it to. But in terms of the world record, this thing does have it because it does work like this. It's just really, 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 really slow. So I'll be doing a tutorial for this in this video, so sit tight for that if you want it. It's not too big, and I think I've memorized it. But yeah, let me just say, this thing does work on bucket, but it's a bit unstable because of the way it uses very close timings, let's say that. In the words of Jaruca, it runs off hopes and dreams. But basically, to fix it in bucket, make it 99% reliable, just come onto where these pistons are and place a piston like so, and that should update it, because sometimes these just don't update and the extension doesn't work properly. But now it will always work, and I don't think it's directional. All the tests I've tried, it's worked everywhere, so yeah. Pretty good design if you ask me. So you're going to want to start with a 5x12 trench. Now, this should be 4 blocks down, so you'll have your floor, 3 blocks in the middle, and that will be the bottom of your trench. You should be able to run along it. So basically what I mean is you'll have 1 block above your head to jump up and down. Now, first thing you're going to want to do is the piston layout. So find the middle by counting over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on each side. And this will give you the 2 middle blocks. Then place 2 hoppers in the middle, pointing into each other on the floor. There. Then break this wool, and that will give you a point of reference when you're building your layout. Okay, so once we've got these hoppers, we're going to place 2 pistons right next to the hoppers, pointing upwards, and then 2 more on top of those. And that gives us the double extenders. Now we're going to break these 2 blocks and replace them with upwards facing pistons, like that, and then build 3 on top, like so. Now what this does is gets us our extenders, which will push the blocks up. Now we're going to build the block swappers. So to do this, I'm just going to build a bit of floor to give me reference. So that is what we're pushing up. Now you're going to want to place a block down here. These are just scaffolding blocks, 3 out, and then another 2. So you should be right at the edge of your trench, and place 2 pistons and another 2 pistons next to each other. Then on on the front of each stack, you should be able to fit 3 before they come right up to the edge of these pistons here. Now on the other side, you're going to do basically exactly the same. You're going to do the one that's closest to these hoppers exactly the same. So you go out this far, place 2, and 3 blocks on front. But the one next to it, you're going to go 1 in front of this one here, and place 2 blocks on the front. So it should line up like this, and look a bit like so. Now, these aren't all going to be solid blocks, so choose one of them just to extend out. Those should have been normal pistons, by the way. Whoops. And just push them out like this, then replace all these blocks with stairs, because this is going to be what you're going to use. So it can be any type of stair. I'm just using quartz because I think it looks pretty good. We are now going to start the red circuit, which will control the pushing of these pistons here. So to do this, break out these just to give us a bit of space, and place block underneath the left hopper and a torch on the side of that block. This will be your input. Now you're going to want to place 2 comparators, one on either side, coming out of these hoppers, and place 9 of any item into the right hopper. So what this does is, if my lever wouldn't do that, turns this one on, waits a bit, then turns that one off. Then on this edge, turns that one on, waits a bit, and turns this one off. And that's exactly what we want. So now we're going to do the circuit which controls these side pistons. So we're going to start with the right side. What you're going to do is place a block on the front of that comparator, then a repeater coming out of that block, a block on the front of the repeater, and a dust on the other side. Now you need this dust to be a dot so it can point into this block, which has 2 torches on the side of it, like that. And then you're going to place 2 blocks like this, with 1 tick repeaters on them, and blocks on the front of those 1 tick repeaters. Now what this is going to do is push those out, and it works nicely. Now also on this side, we're going to want to get a slab out, and we're going to place it like that. No, sorry, that, this, place a torch on the top. This slab has to be upside down, by the way, so you can place a dust on it like that. Then a torch on top of that block, block on the side of the torch, repeater coming out of that block on 4 ticks. Now what this does is waits a bit, pushes those out, and then pushes these up, which is what we want. Then it retracts them, waits a bit, and is going to push these out, and that's what we're going to do now. So now you're going to have to place a block on the front of that comparator, and then a torch on the side of that block, with a repeater there, and a block on the front of that repeater with the dust on top of it. Then you're going to place a block on the side of that dust so it powers this piston here, with a repeater coming out, block on the front of the repeater, dust, block there, whoops, and repeater coming out of that block on 1 tick going in there. And that will control, for a large part, the block swapper. I'm just going to take a few items out for the moment, just so you can see it a bit quicker. Oh yeah, you also need to place a 2 tick repeater down here, and a 1 tick repeater on this block coming out of that block, and then a block there. My mistake, you need to push that piston as well. There you go, that should do this. Now if we look at it, extends. But what we also want is for this input to turn on, but quite late this time, and you'll see why we need to do that later on. So what we're going to do to get that is place a dust underneath this block which is being powered by the 2 tick repeater, come on the other side, which is quite hard to reach at this angle, and place a 4 tick repeater coming out of that block, which is being powered by that dust. Then on the face of that 4-tick repeater, place a dust. Come up, place a dust on top. What you're going to notice is this all turns off. To stop that, place a block there which cuts off the two redstone signals from each other. Now place 2 blocks and a block there with a 4-tick repeater and another 4-tick repeater. Now if we look at it, yeah, we don't have enough items in here, sorry. So we're going to get this, and then it turns on, turns off, and push. And that's exactly what we want. So that's our red circuit complete. Now what I would suggest is turning this lever off, waiting a bit until it's fired, then placing a lever on that block with the torch, turning it constantly on, and placing another lever here. This is going to be our test input, so we don't have to wait loads. Okay, now what we're going to do is do the triple piston extender extension. So we're going to come over on this side, and we're going to build our circuit which will control the triple piston extender. So to do that, we're going to place 2 blocks like that right next to the 2 blocks bottom pistons of the triple piston extender. Place a dust on each one, then a block on the side of both of those. Then you want to place a torch on top of those blocks, block on top of the torch on the side of those blocks, which should spit these stairs out, and then blocks on top. Now let me show you how awesome this thing is. There's the whole extension. Oh yeah, I forgot something. Also what you're going to have to do is place a 4-tick repeater coming out of the block with the torch, block on the front of it, dust, and block on the side of that dust. And do exactly the same thing on the other side. So 4-tick repeater, block, dust, block. Now let me show you how awesome this thing is. Extension, bit of the retraction. If we send a 2-tick pulse, right, extension, bit of the retraction, 2-tick pulse. This is going to take, it's going to take some tries. Okay, what you have to do is actually turn that lever on, so it's not being powered. Then when it extends, 2-tick, and we get this. Now all we have to do is power these top pistons, and that will work nicely. But how would you do that? Well, that's where the genius part comes in. To power the top one, all you need to do is do a dust input. And that will only power that, and voila, it won't power the bottom pistons. So to get this, just place 2 dust dots like that, 2 blocks up like so, block on top of that dust, so you get this shape, then dust, repeater, and block that off with a block. And that's that bit done. Now we're going to go back to the light blue circuit. So to do this, you're going to place a block on the side of this torch with the dust there. That should get powered by that. Block down here, dust on it, block on the front of that dust, and a repeater. What that will do is power the triple piston extender, which I can't really show you, but it will work. And it does all that stuff nicely. But now if we try this side, we need to power the triple piston extender still. So how do we do that? Well, it's very easy. Replace this block with a 2-tick repeater. Easy. Now if we look at it, the whole extension is done. And now we just have to worry about that 2-tick stuff. So to get the 2-tick in, all we do is replace this block with a slab. I should have mentioned that earlier. This repeater here, 1-tick, is a slab. Then come down here, place a 4-tick repeater there. Let me just break these blocks. And then a piston down there. How is this going to power anything, you might ask? Well, this is where the clever bit comes in. We get a dropper and a hopper. We place them like this. This will create a monostable, but we're not worried about the monostable. All we want is to get power upwards, and we can do that very easily with this little setup, and it also gives us just the right amount of delay, so it's perfect. Place one of any item in there, come up here, place a comparator coming out of that hopper, and get your sticky piston, place it there with a block on top. Now when we look at it, extension, and already we've got the whole double piston extender and just one movement left of the triple piston extender in this. Are you beginning to see just how crazy this thing is? I hope so, because it is pretty crazy. Now how do we get the power into here from this side? Well, the way we do that is using this piston here, which was to create a monostable. We use this piston, place red sand on top of it, or gravel or normal sand, it doesn't really matter. And now we place a comparator and a furnace. What is this mystical creation you are making? Well, if we put any item in this furnace, just one, the comparator will turn on. And now if you watch this, let me just give you a demonstration. Watch that repeater. So it turns on, that's not a problem. When it turns off, this piston pushes up, pushing a block in front of this comparator, which gives us a monostable. We can then carry this monostable across to the other side with relative ease, and with that we can get 2 monostables out of just 1 piston, which is lovely. So now you're going to place a block with a 2-seat repeater on it, coming out of where this red sand will be. Then a block on the front of it with a torch, and a piston on the front of that torch. You're going to need to place a redstone block on the front of that piston, and another 2-seat repeater coming out of the redstone block with a block on front of it. Now you place a downward sticky piston and a cauldron. This cauldron is the only movable item which will transmit redstone signal, which is lovely. So you place block on that cauldron and comparator coming out of where the cauldron will be, just like that. And then coming out of that block, a 1-tick repeater. If I went a bit fast, there is a side-on view. This cauldron has to be filled with water, so just right-click on it. And now, when we look at it, watch in awe. As we retract it, voila, the whole thing is complete. And yeah, now all we have to do is remove that, remove this, and test it out. So flick this lever underneath the hoppers, retracts, and pushes out. Wait a bit, and extend. But what if you don't like that really ugly weight? Well, all you have to do is add one small little circuit. So get another wool, or just your building block that you've been using. Come down, place a block here, which is going to be your new input, with a lever on it. Now on this block, place a torch there, and a torch there. Now a block on both of these side torches, with a 4-tick repeater going into it. Block there, block on top, repeater there. And what this does is, basically it turns on quickly, turning off this comparator, then turns off more slowly. You don't need to be worried about how it works, it just gives the right delay, and now it's not ridiculously slow. So it's a win-win really. Does make it a bit bigger, but what are you going to do? Yeah, that was a little derp. That is not the machine's fault. That's because I didn't give it long enough for all the items to flow into the other hopper. That's something to bear in mind. You have to wait for all the items to go through before you fire the lever. So it's relatively spam proof, as in spam like that. It doesn't break, but what you can't do is a slow spam, because that will ruin it like that. So this should be your completed door. Now I know this video has been quite long, maybe a bit hard to follow. I've done my best. It's quite a big and complicated creation. It's also very compact, so it's hard to see what's going on. but I think I've done a pretty good job. So yeah, as far as I go, that's it for today. I'd like to thank you all for 666 subscribers, the number of the beast. That is pretty cool if you ask me. Not that I am a Satanist or anything, but yeah, just thought I'd mention that. But anyway, my name's been Mr. Mruberduck. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.